Guessing acts of service is how GEEGA shows she cares. What are the love languages again? Is there any like scientific basis to this? Is this like one step removed from horoscopes? No. It's like Myers-Briggs. Yeah, I think it's one of those things like you could say most people fall into some of these categories of like this is how they tend to do these things, but I don't think it's really like deeply psychological, is it? I feel like this is more learned behavior. This sounds like it's like behavioral, not like innate psychological, right? It's an interpretive tool humans use to evaluate themselves. Yeah. I think most things where you self-evaluate are that, right? They're one step off of horoscopes where there's actually evidence of you doing a thing, so you're like, oh, that makes sense. But I don't know, if I look at them, yeah, I think I'm an acts of service person, because I'm like, if I don't do something for you, then I feel like I'm not proving anything. Quality time is okay. Words of affirmation, I'm a words mean nothing, only actions kind of person. Physical touch, I don't like touching people. Receiving gifts, I don't like receiving gifts that much. Yeah, I feel like everyone does a mix of some of these, for sure. Like, you probably, like, tier list them, right? You probably tier list this for each individual. You didn't know what acts of services were until you went on dating sites, thought it was doing community service at first. It just means doing something for someone, right? Just, like, doing anything for anyone. Said it's a way to communicate things to others about yourself, I guess, like saying what Dragon Ball Z character you are. Yeah. So like kind of like how women prefer partners doing dishes to teddy bears. That depends on the person, but yeah. I'm one of those people where like, so here's an example. One of my cousins was pregnant a while back, and I wanted to do something for her. I wasn't gonna get her a gift. I wasn't gonna just send her messages and be like, hope you're feeling well. I went to her house and I did her laundry. Like I just went to her house and did and folded her laundry. She had another kid, and you know, I was like, I'm just gonna do that. That's how I'll do it. But I'm not really like I'm not gonna like say a bunch of affectionate words and be like, that'll suffice. Some people like that. Some people like reassurance. Some people like receiving those words. To me, I'm just like, okay, well, anyone can say anything, right? Like, that's my brain and how it works, you know? So I'm like, so to prove something the other way, I'm like, I'll just do something, right? So I did her damn laundry. There you go, you know? And I was like, she had a toddler at the time, and I was like, why don't you sleep? I'll hang out with him. Like, you sleep, you know, stuff like that. So, I don't know. I think the love language thing is like, while it does seem pseudoscientific, I feel like everyone has their tendencies, so I feel like this isn't the worst thing. It's not as bad as like saying I do this because I'm an Aries or whatever the fuck. So I don't hate this one. I don't hate this one too much. Those gifts of service are really well received. Yeah, because I feel like they're the most practical. They're the most practical. Some people need a mix. Like, you could do practical things for them, but they occasionally need like that verbal reassurance or stuff like that. It's hard for me to put myself in other people's shoes because that stuff doesn't do much for me. I like only believe it if they like do a thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fully believe it. That's just the way I am. It's not that I assume everyone's lying. I'm just like, well, this means nothing until you like actually do something. All right, I'm just kind of results oriented. So for me, that's why I give in the same way, I guess. It's a good categorical system, but it's not indicative of who you are as a person. Me, when I say I'm INTP and then someone else is like, me too, we're like the same. And I'm like, okay. Okay. All right, whatever you say, pal. Whatever you say, pal. All right. They make it like we're in a cool secret club together. The MBTI is heavily flawed. Well, when you get your chart, you're supposed to look at it and it's like you lean on, like if 50% is the middle, you're 60% toward this, right? Or like if the middle is 0 and then there's +1 to one side or -1 to the other side, like that's how it's supposed to be. And there's a little slider of how far introverted versus extroverted you are, right? And if you're just positive slightly or negative slightly, that tells you which letter you are. But yeah, it's different because like the N for me, when I took the little test, it's always like I'm like almost 100% N, right? So someone who's like the S type, the second letter is S for them, I'm like, I have nothing in common with you on that part. You know? But there might be people who are like also INTP, and the N for them is like 51% or whatever, you know, plus 0.1. And they're like barely there. They're like in the middle, you know? So just saying like your letters doesn't really indicate that much, I don't think. INTP tech workers are rare breed on the internet. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't know. Like, I think the test makes some sense, but it's also super easy to fudge. It's like really simple. It goes, do you like people? And you're like, no, very much no. And then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get an I instead of an E. Ha ha ha. Rubs hands together. Like, it just, it's okay. It's okay. So like how NL took the autism test, but he lied on multiple questions. I took the screening test and I got like super, super low. I got super low on it. And there were times where I was really tempted to like answer things a certain way, but I was like, no, then I'll be fudging it. You can get different results depending on day and mood. Yeah, that's why it's like, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. I was always receiving gifts and never giving gifts. Because I think giving a gift could be within acts of service somewhat. I think so. You said not to sound like I'm doing a bit, but what love language does having sex even fall under? I would obviously physical touch, because yeah, you could claim all the others, but like, it means that that's the end all be all, dog. I don't think it's too hard to figure that one out. Or acts of service. No, because then you're taking acts of service and you're like making it sexual, you know. But they mean like doing a little thing for somebody. Someone like has dishes piled up and you're like, I did your dishes. Someone's hungry, you got food. Instead of handing them their container and going, open this, you open it for them and you lay out their little fork. Like, that's what they mean. You could also probably fit that other stuff in there though, but the main definition is the other stuff, you know. It's a valid question. I think you could apply that to all of those things, but like there's clearly a main answer, right? There's clearly one. Is that a 30-second act of service? I like acts of service and very little quality time. That's this guy right here. This dude hates quality time. He hates it. He said, question, as someone that shows acts of kindness, do you feel initiative is needed? I tend to need to be told, and I'm just curious. Needed in what context? Like, to define it in one of these 5 categories, or like in general, do people need that? I think initiative, if you're talking about like categorizing it, I think it is needed. If you have to be told, then yeah, I think so. In general, maybe it brings you a lot of happiness to be able to do something for someone. But I think if you need to be told, then I wouldn't categorize yourself as that thing, because it's not your default to just go and do, right? It's not an act of service, that's just following orders. Yeah. I think so. Because also, like, how you feel on the inside and what you actually physically do are 2 different things, right? So, and that gets into the debate. That's where I am. So I'm a results-oriented person, like I said. If someone says, my love language is acts of service, but they don't actually do those acts of service, they just think about doing them and are like, that would be nice, then I personally would be like, well, then it doesn't matter. Then that's not your love language, because you don't actually do them. Whereas other people would be like, yeah, but that's in their mind what they feel is the thing that's most significant. And I'm like, okay. And that's where some people just differ, because I'm like, if you don't do it, I don't care. You know? It's not real. But that's just me. Because I feel like it falls into the same camp of like, you talk about doing something and you get the satisfaction of doing it without actually doing it. Well, then you got satisfaction to soothe your brain, but nothing happened, therefore it does not matter, right? That's a mechanism that happens with people. They'll get up there and talk a big talk about wanting to do a thing and then not do it, but they'll feel satisfied because they talked about it. And I think that falls into the same camp, right? So that's why for me, I'm like, it's not real unless it's like tangible. It's a thing you did. I'm in this picture and I don't like it. Everyone does it. Everyone does it. I'm not, I want to absolve myself, right? That's like, everyone does that shit. But that's why, you know, it isn't until it's done that you can really be like, okay, that person is that kind of person or this kind of person, you know? For sure. I think that's very normal. Quantify the love language. Yeah, yeah. You could maybe fit into one of these 5 categories, but not really do much of any of them. And then it just means you're not like a very loving, giving person outwardly. Doesn't mean that you feel any less. It just means like outwardly you're not. Right? You know? Like I always say, like, I don't think I'm a very affectionate person because in my mind, I feel like an affectionate person is someone who like says a lot of affectionate words or whatever, right? But then a lot of my friends will be like, no, I think you are because I do shit for them all the time. Unasked for. I'll just be like, hey, you said this thing on stream, so I made this for you. Right? You said you weren't sure about this, so I compiled some research on this basic shit, so you don't have to read about it. Here's my suggestions for XYZ, right? I'll just like do that when they indicate that a thing would help them. So then I have friends telling me like, I think you are affectionate. I'm like, I don't think that counts, but they say it does, and you know, jury's out. we can agree to disagree, but you know, there's a lot of interpretation there for sure. Oh, what you hate is when you tell someone, this is your love language and this is what you're like. And then they're like, well, it's not mine, so I'm not going to do that. They use it like a counter, like rock, paper, scissors. That's fucking crazy. You like paper? Well, I like scissors. That's... We're not compatible because I like quality time and you like acts of service. We can't be friends. That's insane. That's when it gets horoscopy. Okay, that's when it gets horoscopy, when you start like defending, you know, defining who you're gonna be friends with or whatever based off of like, my love language is this. That's so stupid. Oh my god. I don't know. I only date a Sagittarius because I'm an Aries. I don't know. People like to like divine in a crystal ball, in a bowl of water, who the fuck they can be friends with sometimes. And I feel like they just don't like someone and they don't know how to say it, right? Or they're just a miserable person and they don't want any new friends. And instead of just being like nice about it and being like, I do not wish to be friends, my time is so tired right now, they're like, oh, the moon said I can't. The moon said I can't be your friend. People make shit up because they're so afraid to just say what they think. I don't know, man. I don't know. So doing that with people you want to date is one thing, but just hang out with them is fucking wild. Even doing that with someone you want to date, I mean, you could sit here and be like, I want to date somebody with this MBTI. I want them to have a love language of one of these two. I can't deal with the others, blah, blah, blah. You could say all this shit, and then the person you end up with is probably not going to fit half the criteria you've written in your head. That's number one. Number two, if you do find someone who meets all this criteria, you're going to sit with them and you're going to be like, oh my God, there's more to a person than these 5 charts. And, you know, like, we all know this, right? So I hate when I see people do that shit because I'm like, brother, that's not what matters. I don't know. Apparently that's a big problem on like dating apps. A lot of my friends that have like tried to find love through apps, they've said that a lot of the issue is that there are a lot of people that use, whether it's bullshit like horoscopes or it's like a love language chart or whatever it is, people use these sorts of things to categorize other people instantly and use it to write people off before even like trying to even meet someone, which I think is crazy. I understand if you see someone and you're like, there's no way, and you don't want to give them a shot, but like, cast a wide net. At least meet up with people, at least try talking to them a little bit, and have some sort of normal human interaction before you write someone off, right? You could look at someone's picture and be like, I don't think I can do that. And then you talk to them and you're like, they're funny. And then you look at that same picture again and your brain is like, ha, I love them, because your brain does that, right? Like, I'm just like, why even be like that? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Brain chemicals are really funny and you should just give people a shot. I don't know. It's so stupid. I hate dating apps, dude. I've never tried any. I've always been like, not really concerned with that stuff. I date my job, you know? And like, I would always hear friends sit there and lament about all this shit, and it always sounded so dystopian to me. They'd be like, this girl won't talk to me because I told her that I'm an ISTP and she said she can't date anyone who's got T in their MBTI. Like, I would hear this shit and I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, what? But I feel like I've heard it so many times that I'm like, is this actually that prevalent? I feel like it is now. I don't know. All right, I had one friend who was not bald, but he had a picture of himself that he really liked, and he had a hat on. And he had his sides like shaved down, and he had a fade going up, right? He had hair on the top of his head. But when you look at this picture of him wearing the hat, he looks like he might be bald, right? It's the angle, it's what parts of his scalp are showing, whatever. So he kept having this issue where so many girls on this dating app thought he was bald, and I was like, put up a different picture without the hat on then. And he was like, but I like this picture. He's just a person who hates pictures of himself and he just thinks he looks bad all the time. And he just liked this one photo. And I was like, come on, let's at least try. And he was like, no, this is the best photo of me. So he would just have this picture. And he didn't realize at first that girls thought he was bald. He was like, so many of them like that were talking to me, like just stopped. And I'm like, why? What do you mean? And I looked at the picture and I was like, you kind of look bald in this. And he was like, what? What do you mean? I have hair. And I'm like, they don't know that. And he didn't think anything of it. He kept talking to some people. Girls kept thinking he was older than what his age said, because he doesn't look super young in the face. But when you see him with hair, he looks a lot younger. But because that picture made him look bald, he made himself look so much older. Like, some people, their face looks their age, but for him, he just looks older, right? And I was like, you've got to take the hat off. You've got to take the hat off. The moment we see everything, you look your age. But like, the hat made him look so old. And I was like, no. I felt so bad. I don't know. It would have been funnier if those girls were really into bald guys and then it felt cheated when he takes his hat off. Yeah, and the thing is, I don't even think it was the baldness that was the issue. I think it was that the way his face looks, plus him potentially being bald, made them think he was lying about his age. And so it wasn't even like that him not having hair and him being whatever age they thought he was the problem. It was more so that they thought he was lying. So I don't know, dude. Because he got so many messages from girls being like, are you actually this age? And then he would like send another picture. They'd be like, oh, okay. I don't know, man. I don't know. The hat might have made it look like he was hiding the bulge. Yeah, and then you look like you're ashamed of it. And like, if you're confidently bald, I don't think people care. But if you look like you're not confident about it, again, the baldness isn't the problem. It's the fact that you look incredibly like insecure, like, and you're like, I have to glue a hat to my head and I will only wear shorts that cover my knees, right? Like, you know what I mean? And that's something that, like, personally, I don't think that makes anyone like super unattractive, but when you put that next to someone who is really confident, right? Like, a lot of people will go for what's confident instead, typically. So I think that's kind of what was doing him that disservice, man. Why are you in Times Square? Times Square is bad. No, get out of Times Square. Get out, run.